so grateful for the opportunity to work one more time again in partnership with the Human Service Chamber. There's no way we could have gotten everything together as quickly as we did and gotten the word out. Somebody's line is not muted. Please mute your line. Please mute your line. Thank you. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to work again in partnership with the Human Service Chamber. We put this RFP together very quickly, retooling it from what Elevate 1.0 was. So we're so excited to be back again to offer another funding opportunity to our nonprofit partners. I will introduce myself again. My name is Dayna McCrary, and I am with the City of Columbus in the Development Department, and I'm wearing the hat today of helping to facilitate discretionary grants on behalf of the mayor and the administration here in the city. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and jump into my presentation. Can everyone see my screen? No?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So the first thing to know is that these are capacity building grant funding. It's capacity building funding for nonprofit organizations in Columbus. We are not supporting a specific program or project within your organization. This is to support your organization as you continue to work in whatever focus area you align yourself with. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. So as I said, this effort comes out of the Department of Development, and one big takeaway here, the application is live. Right now, it's available in the EC Impact Grant portal. We will have our partners from the United Way speaking with us a little bit later about how to access that portal. But the thing for you all to remember is that applications are due no later than November 4th at 5 p.m. That's a Friday. So yes, please keep that in mind. Applications close on November 4th, 5 o'clock sharp. No late applications will be accepted. Again, I want to acknowledge Michael Corey for his partnership with the Human Service Chamber. He is hosting this webinar, and we'll have a lot of our follow-up information, including the recording. FAQs will be available on their website, as well as the city's. Troy Rindler is also joining us today from the United Way of Central Ohio, and he will walk us through that EC Impact platform. I originally had this slide much later in the presentation, and then I was sort of looking at the names of registrants, and I think it would be good to call this out earlier. So in terms of who may apply, if you are on the call right now and you are with an organization that is currently a recipient of Elevate funding, if you were included in that first round of funding, you are ineligible to apply for funding now. So you've got some time back in your day. That is also a question on the application itself. It's one of the first questions that comes up. If you are already a recipient of this capacity building funding, we're already supporting your work, and we certainly want other organizations to have the opportunity to step into this space and take advantage of this funding. So other requirements, other guidelines in terms of who may apply: you must be a nonprofit registered as a 501c3. Your nonprofit organization must be in operation for at least 1 year. You must be compliant with the State of Ohio Attorney General's office and in good standing with the Internal Revenue Service. So originally with Elevate, we had just 3 focused areas, and those really looked at infant vitality, unsheltered homelessness, and providing housing stability for immigrant and refugee communities. We received some feedback from the community, and we really took it to heart that there were organizations, particularly because this is a 3-year funding opportunity, just like the first Elevate. This is a 3-year funding opportunity. And I think we took the point. The point was well taken that, well, if we don't fit in with these 3, then we're shut out for 3 additional years. And that was not ever our intent. So the good news is that we decided to expand and include additional focus areas this time around. So our focus areas for Elevate 2.0 are closely linked to Mayor Ginther's Opportunity Rising framework. There's a short video. I don't know if it will work because usually these things don't work for me when I'm doing a presentation. I'm just telling the truth. They never work for me, but I'm going to try to play it anyways. Everybody think good thoughts, cross your fingers, and let's see what happens when I press play for this short video. Nothing. It's not even here. What? Wait, let me go back. Let me go back. I don't think it's going to let me. What I will say to you is this. I'm going to try again. If I can't get this video to play, oh my gosh, can you hear it? Can everybody hear it?
Ever so slightly.
So maybe if I turn it up, do you think that will be helpful? I don't know. I'm going to try to turn it up. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. If we cannot hear this and play this smoothly, this short video is available on the department, on the mayor's webpage, and we'll certainly provide a link to it at a later time. So I'm going to turn this up and see if we can hear that. Is that better?
Every resident earns a wage to support their housing.
Every resident achieves and maintains financial security.
Every family has access to high quality, affordable childcare during the hours that they need.
Every resident can afford and use high speed, high capacity internet from home.
No resident pays more than 30% of their monthly income to live in the neighborhood of their choice.
Every resident is stably housed.
Every baby reaches his or her first birthday.
Healthy choices are easy for everyone to access and afford. Every resident enjoys the benefit of a sustainable environment.
Timely, affordable behavioral health services are available to every resident without stigma.
Every call for help is served by the right response.
Every neighborhood has the infrastructure, green space, and programs to support safe and healthy living.
Every resident lives in a neighborhood free of violent crime.
Justice involved residents are ready to contribute to and be accepted by the community.
Every Columbus young person can find safety and engagement in their neighborhoods outside of school hours.
Residents collaborate with their city to create the community in which they wish to live.
Every resident has the resources to quickly recover from a community crisis.
Every resident lives within a 30-minute commute of a job that suits their skills.
Every business have equal access to the resources and opportunity to succeed.
Well, thank you all for your patience as we moved through that video. So what you really just saw were the aspirations that that our mayor has for the city, and this is the Opportunity Rising framework, sort of a big picture view. There's three pillars that this framework rests on, and they are economic stability, safe and resilient communities, and health and well-being. So what we did for Elevate 2.0 is we selected additional raise or aspirations as stated by Mayor Ginther. Our first three focus areas were already aligned with Opportunity Rising. Homelessness, infant vitality, and housing stability were already priorities. So we have just taken a deeper dive into the Opportunity Rising framework. So as I mentioned, there are 21 rays, and we heard our neighbors speaking about those. There are 21 in total. They're aspirations that are stated for every member of our community. Really they come out of the understanding of how inequity can be experienced by our neighbors. And another thing to know about these aspirational rays is that there is no way to bring them to fruition without your help. We have to have community collaboration in order to see this work come into being. So the first pillar is economic stability, the first one that I'll kind of walk through, and the rays that we have chosen for Elevate 2.0 are homelessness, which already was there before, increasing financial stability, workforce development, and housing stability. So let's look at homelessness. The aspiration reads, working to assure that every resident is stably housed. For example, an organization might be assisting Columbus residents who are living on the land and assist them with housing and related supports. This is just an example. It is not intended to be an exhaustive list, but just to give you an idea of the kind of work that an organization may be doing in this space. Next, we have increasing financial security. So again, the aspiration states that an organization would be working to assure that every Columbus resident achieves and maintains financial security. So an organization may be working to assist residents and other nonprofit organizations with connecting with the Columbus Financial Empowerment Center, for example. That is work that the city is already engaged in to help bring one-on-one financial counseling to any resident who is interested and who really identifies that as a need. So this funding is not intended to duplicate what we are already doing, what the city is already doing, but is there an organization that is working, that is maybe working alongside us in an adjacent space that can help extend or expand our reach into the community as it relates to financial counseling services? So that's an example of a way that an organization might come in under financial security. Workforce development. We have so many wonderful organizations who are doing work in that space. So really the aspiration says working to assure that every Columbus resident is prepared not only to enter, but to advance in the workplace. And the last ray for this pillar is housing stability. So an organization would be working to assure that no resident pays more than 30% of their income, their monthly income, to live in the neighborhood of their choosing. So moving over to the blue pillar of the Opportunity Rising framework, and that is safe and resilient communities. So the three aspirational rays that we will focus on with Elevate 2.0 are violence elimination, re-entry, and neighborhood building. So violence elimination, the aspiration states working to assure that every resident lives in a neighborhood that is free of violent crime. So for example, an organization may be reaching residents who are facing violence with strategies such as mediation or mentoring. Again, just an example. Also, if you are an organization that received City of Columbus funding under gun violence reduction or youth categories, the city asks that you would be willing, your organization would be willing to serve as to serve as a referral source to other city-funded youth intervention programs. So just asking for you to sort of pay it forward and really be a good partner in connecting your constituents, the communities that you're working with, being intentional about connecting them to other services. Re-entry. The aspiration states that you would be working to assure that justice-involved residents are ready to contribute to and are accepted by this community. So, for example, providing employment or housing opportunities and supports for returning justice-involved individuals. Neighborhood building ray. Working to assist that every neighborhood has infrastructure, green space, and programs to support safe and healthy living. So some examples of this work may be supporting residents through community gardens, leadership development, beautification, or crime prevention initiatives. And the third pillar that we have aspirations with for Elevate 2.0 is health and well-being. And for this pillar, we have chosen the infant vitality and chronic disease prevention rays or aspirations. So infant vitality, the aspiration states that your organization is already working to ensure that every baby reaches his or her first birthday. Examples of that can include efforts to reduce premature births, eliminate sleep-related deaths, and disconnecting moms and dads to relationships and services. Chronic disease prevention is the last aspiration, I believe, for this work, at least with health and well-being, and that is the aspiration states that your organization would currently be working to assure that healthy choices are easy for everyone to access and afford. So an example of that would be connecting residents with healthy food choices, nutrition education, medications, or another form of healthcare. So here's the question, how much may I apply for? We are going to keep the same structure in place that we had for Elevate 1.0 because we thought it was really helpful, and we'd like to just try it again and see what that looks like over time. So your request must be tied to your 2022 fiscal year board approved budget, your board approved operating budget. So we will have 3 budget tiers. The first one is an organization with an operating budget of less than $500,000. The second tier is a budget that is between $500,000 and $1 million. The third and final tier are budgets that are in excess of $1 million. So that will be very easy to see as you move through the application. It'll actually be a drop-down menu that you can choose from. So budgets, if your organization's annual budget is less than $500,000, then you will be given the following choices. You can request $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, or a maximum of $50,000. If your budget falls in that middle tier of $500,000 to $1 million, the requests that you will see in your drop-down menu are $25,000, $50,000, $75,000, or $100,000. And for those, the third tier or the final tier, I don't want to say the top or the bottom, the remaining tier is for budgets that are in excess of $1 million. And the choices that will be available in your drop-down menu as you move through EC Impact are $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, or $150,000. So it will be a round number for you to select, and you just pick what you think best represents your organization's needs within the choices that we are providing for you. I cannot stress this next slide enough. These eligibility requirements. You must be registered or in the process of registering with sam.gov. The website seems to be in a state of perpetual backup. It takes a very long time to renew or initiate a registration. So if you even think that you may be chosen for funding, I would strongly urge you to go and get your organization registered with sam.gov, because if you are not registered and in good standing with no exclusions for your organizations, then we will not move your contract forward. We will not be able to move a grant agreement forward without that registration in place. Likewise, organizations must be registered or in the process of registering with the City of Columbus Vendor Services. There's also a 2-year compliance registration that's a part of that process that must be current. So again, if you even think that you may be selected for funding, I would strongly encourage you to follow the links, go to the city vendor website, and make sure that your organization is registered. We will not be able to establish any grant agreement or issue any payment without current and accurate registration information. So other additional eligibility requirements, there will be sort of a drop-down menu, and one of the things that your organization must certify is that you will be adhering to the non-discrimination clause, and that reads that you will provide services without regard to race, religion, national origin, ethnicity, age, gender identity and expression, disability, sexual orientation, veteran status, familial status, or socioeconomic status. And further, you agree to maintain a commitment to cultural competence and ongoing development of cultural competence capabilities for your staff and for your organization. So you will have to attest to that as well. At this point, I want to call out, if you have questions related to Elevate 2.0, I'm going to point you in the direction of this mailbox, Human Service Programs at columbus.gov. This is the email that I want you to use, if you're sending a question to me about Elevate 2.0, please put Elevate 2.0 in the subject line so that your email will not get bogged down. So my email, so it won't get commingled with the other questions that I have coming in from Elevate and other programs as well. We have a special email box, and this is the email address that I'd like for you to use. We will also take questions that come out of this webinar. They will be posted on the Department of Development webpage along with the recording of today's webinar. Again, I want to reiterate that applications are due no later than November 4th at 5 p.m. in the EC Impact portal. You cannot email your responses to me. Do not send them to me in a Word document because we will not accept it. You must go into EC Impact and create a user account and complete your application there. And again, no late applications will be accepted. And if you are currently receiving Elevate funding, then you are ineligible to apply for Elevate 2.0. At this point, unless there are questions right now, if there are questions, I'm happy to field them. Otherwise, we can move forward to the United Way's presentation. Troy Rindler is on the call with us today, and he will walk us through how to register and log on with EC Impact and share with us about that. Michael, do you have questions right now?
There are already 5.
Okay.
So if it's okay with you, I think folks would like to ask a few questions before we move to the technical piece. Thank you. I'm going to go in the order in which they were asked. The first question is, does the money for this grant originate from the federal government, or is it another revenue source within the city?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that, whoever posed that question. These are general funds, so it will be a lot, the process will be much more streamlined than the American Rescue Plan Act funding that we had for Elevate 1.0. So these are general revenue funds, just like the typical traditional human service programs that the city has funded in the past.
Terrific, thank you. The next question is, are some budget requests, I should say applications, more competitive than others? For example, HR, finance, tech, or legal, et cetera, et cetera.
No, we really want to provide the flexibility for your organization to use the funding in the way that will be most helpful to you. We don't have a preference. The biggest requirement at the application stage is that you be working in one of the focus areas that we have identified. Show us what the work is that you are doing. Show us how you would use that funding within your organization, so that we would know. At any rate, there will be a detailed budget form that each organization that is chosen for funding has to complete. That will be sort of the agreement. This is what you're telling us you will spend your funding on, and you will submit reports and requests for funding based on that budget that we would agree on further down the road.
Thank you. There are several questions about the 3-year funding. Could you elaborate on how that will work? One person asked if they'd have to reapply each year. Any details that you can share about the 3-year funding plan for these grants?
Sure. So the funding will be initially a 1-year contract with the option to renew for 2 additional years. So as long as an organization is in good standing, has submitted their reports in a timely fashion, has not mismanaged funding or anything along those lines, And the funding remains available within the city's budget, then we would progress into years 2 and 3. But we do not anticipate having another application for people to complete for the 2nd and 3rd years.
Thank you. That was very helpful. The next question is, yes, the next question is, are there any restrictions around what the funding can indeed be used for?
Well, I think we are just looking back over mentally going back over some of the budgets that were submitted for Elevate 1.0. And I can tell you that we saw a lot of funding, a lot of people budgeted for staffing positions, benefits, utilities, rent. So we are trying to, there was one organization that requested funding. It was really mission critical for them to have transportation. So they requested to use their funding for a vehicle. There was one organization that requested to use some of the funding that they were receiving for renovations to their program space. So if it's anything that's sort of outside of the norm, we certainly would take a look at that on a case-by-case basis. If our volunteer reviewers identify that this is a good investment of the city's dollars, and you submit a budget and we find a problem with an item, we may simply ask you to reallocate it. Please, we would prefer it if you spent your money, our money, in a different way. So please move this to a different line item. So it's not necessarily a deal breaker. It is the beginning of a conversation. Tell me more about why you have put this here and what would this mean to you being able to do this work. So we would like to really be as flexible as we can and really find out, you know, and have that conversation without coming down with a hard no, without really seeing your side of it. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Dayna. The next question is, and Shelley Whalen, please feel free to clarify this if I do it disservice. Is it okay to target services to low-income folks, or is this discriminating based on socioeconomic status?
We are not paying for your services. We are paying to support your organization, and your organization can provide services in whatever, in, you know, according to, you know, I think it's okay to have programs that are targeted toward low-income individuals, but these funds are not paying for programs or projects. We are saying, Shelley, here is a check. Do you need it for staffing? Do you need it for your utilities? Do you need it for rent? So you allocate it. This really is funding sort of back of the house operations, you know, the things that you never can get funding for. Your utilities, your phone, your technology, the things that are very, so we want to help you. We want to be the salt in your loaf of bread, right? We're not the main thing, but we want to help you move forward to be able to really fulfill your agency's mission in the way that you see best.
Okay, I think I got that part. That it's, I just wanted to make sure the slide about not discriminating based on race, religion, this, that, and the other was what, and then it said socioeconomic status, which is what conjured up this question. Because we are delivering services that we are targeting to people in a specific income bracket, and that's why I was concerned whether or not that might somehow be construed. Frankly, we don't only serve people in that income bracket. We serve everybody and their brother, but if we wanted to do specific outreach to certain vulnerable populations, that's what brought that to mind.
I think that's fine, because we realize that that's not what equity is, right? So you must reach out to other communities. with different efforts with that other communities may not. And I think that's being a good steward of your resources. You're not going to use the same resources with people who know their rights and who can stand up to their landlord or advocate for themselves as you would for someone who can't and doesn't know which way to turn. And I think that's smart business. So I don't think that's discriminatory.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Dayna. In
You're welcome.
interest of ensuring that the United Way has enough time to talk to the technical piece, we're just going to do 5 more minutes of questions here. And I think we have enough questions to fill up that 5 minutes. The next question is hopefully an easy one for you to answer, Dayna. How is 2022 budget defined? Does that mean total budgeted revenue or total budgeted expenses?
I think that your budget is your revenue and your expenses, right? I mean, that's when I picture that, it's the top. If I'm picturing a spreadsheet, the top half would be, in my mind, what is coming in. The bottom would be what is going out. And then there would be a zero balance, hopefully, or a negative balance or a positive balance. But we really want to see a budget that reflects your revenue and your expenses. And we don't have a special budget form for you to submit it. However you have your budget formulated, we want this to be easy. Submit it, upload it in the format in which it exists. And if we need additional information, like we need to see more about your expenditures, we need to see where else you are drawing revenue from, then we will reach out and ask for that additional information. So however you have it approved, however you are presenting it at this point, that is what you would go ahead and upload.
The next question is, does it matter if your 501c3 application is pending approval?
By the time that we are ready to go into contract, if you are not a 50, if you don't have that 501(c)(3) status in hand, then we would not be able to move forward. So I think that's one of those things that if it's in process, share whatever documentation you have from the Internal Revenue Service. How much longer will it be until when did you submit the application? If you could share information like that, that would be helpful.
In the interest of time, I'm going to skip a few questions that I think are specific to agencies, and I'll make sure that they're asked of you individually, Dayna, and I'll make sure that the people asking them get the answers. If that applies to you, you're going to get your answer from Dayna. The next broader question is, when are decisions on funding made and communicated?
So we will notify applicants towards the end of this year, the end of this calendar year. However, the city's budget must pass before we could execute any grant agreements. So you will likely receive word of our intent to fund your project by the end of December, with the understanding that the city usually votes to pass the mayor's budget early to mid-February. So we would not be going into a grant agreement with any organization before that period.
Thank you, Dayna. 2 more questions, and then we'll hand it off to United Way. These are hopefully quick ones as well. Again, if your question hasn't been asked here, it will be answered by Dayna and emailed to you privately later. The second to last question is, does the program year align with a calendar year? Is January, i.e. a January 1 start date?
Does the grant fund, I'm sorry. So the probably how the agreements will be written is that the agreement is effective from the initiation of the purchase order through 12/31/23. So, and then we would, towards the end of 2023, make the, get the balls rolling and get the wheels turning in terms of renewing the legislation, whatever legislation needed to be renewed, and then also renewing the contracts. So from the initiation of the purchase order, so sometime in February through the end of the year would be the funding period.
Thank you, Dayna. Last question before we hand it off to United Way. Will the funding be done in one lump sum or spread over the year?
It would be spread over the year. There would be quarterly advances, most likely. So you would request that first 3 months, 90 days working capital, and then the following quarter you would tell us what you spent that money on and request your next payments. That's how that will work on an ongoing basis.
Okay, I'll make sure you have the other questions that were asked, as well as the name and email address of those asking them. Thank you so much, Dayna, for everything that you just shared. I'll make sure everybody gets the recording as well as the slides. And everyone, I'll share the web address for the Human Service Chamber's website where all of this will be housed as well. As Dayna queued up, would the person from the United Way like to share now about the EC Impact System?
Sure. Oh, and I do not have access to share my screen.
Give me 1 second and I'll make sure you have. There you go.
All right. Okay, I have just signed in to our test agency here. So this is the general homepage. To access the RFP, once you've logged in, you're going to click this grant applications over here on the left side. You may have to scroll down a little bit to find the American Rescue Plan Elevate 2.0 application. Select that. We've got a lot of the same information that Dayna has shared here is listed here in the instructions. You can click the YouTube video there that she had shared with us, as well as link to the Opportunity Rising on the Franklin County website. After you've gone through all of that, you can hit continue. It is an auto approval, so scroll back down and complete registration, and you'll be approved. So when you hit continue again, it'll bring you to the actual application page where you will see the forms and the form and the attachments. If you've been on here before, this is not going to be anything new to you. If you haven't been on here before, you'll just click the forms, enter the information as it's presented, and you can switch forms right up here on the same page, go to the attachments, and these are the attachments that are going to be required. If you do have any questions as you're getting into the system, you're not sure where to look or how to get on, reach out to us at reporting.help@uwcentralohio.org. Let me share that in the chat.
Troy,
yes.
Is it, can you show us the area where someone would sign up as an agency? I know there were, I received one question. I'm not sure if you were copied on it, but someone was using EC Impact in another city and wanted to log in and was confused about that. But show us how to set up an account, please.
Yes, so that is down here. So when you go to our agency.ec impact link. And it is specific to each locality. So, but once you get in here, or once you get to the link, if you scroll down, there's a click here to create a new EC impact account. As Dayna had kind of mentioned, it does require an EIN, a valid 501c3 EIN that is, I believe it has to be registered in GuideStar. If when you do this, it says the EIN already exists, that means you actually have an active account already on the system. If it's saying you can't find it, reach out to us and Dayna, and we'll figure out what the next steps are as far as that goes. But yeah, that's the process. And then I'll ask some more agency level questions and then your contact information as well once you get past this EIN page. Sorry, I don't have a blanket EIN to plug in to pass this, unfortunately.
That's okay, Troy. That's helpful. Anyways, just so people can kind of see where they would go, what to click on. I think that will be really helpful.
Cool. That's all that I have.
Does anyone have questions about registering or using EC Impact at this point? It's very, very user friendly. It's not a difficult platform to navigate. So I think that everyone should be able to do that without much difficulty. And if you have questions, just like Troy said, please just simply email that reporting.help at UW Central Ohio. I don't want to say I'm not saying anything else because I will say the wrong email address, but we want to use email address for United Way, and they will be able to answer questions, technical assistance questions. Other questions?
Dayna, we still have prior questions that we could ask now.
Sure.
I don't see any. Yes, I don't see any questions on the EC Impact piece. So good job, Troy.
Okay, thank you.
The first question from before is, which category would behavioral health fall under? I think meaning within the mayor's priority areas.
I think you could try you could try chronic disease prevention. That seems to be, I think that's where we saw sort of envisioned a lot of health serving organizations fitting in.
Great, thank you. The next question is, Burhan, please elaborate if I mess this up. He's asking, how long does it take to get your DUNS number?
We are not using a DUNS number. We're using a unique identifier that is provided through sam.gov, completing a full registration, and it takes weeks. I've not heard of anyone going through this process smoothly. I think they're very backlogged. That's why I would encourage you to go and, if you don't need it for this grant opportunity, you may need it for another. So I would really look at getting on sam.gov as soon as possible and completing that process.
Great. The next question does involve EC Impact. It is, per the information EC Impact, this funding is for current sub-recipients. Can you please confirm or clarify?
I don't believe that would be for this grant. Whoever asked that could maybe send an email to us and we can dig deeper on that, because I don't think it should be for this application.
Thank you, Troy. I tried to answer this question in the chat, but I'll pose it here again for clarity. Is the city prioritizing any focus areas before others, e.g. orgs that develop affordable housing, shelters, et cetera? And I responded that they just had to be consistent with the mayor's Opportunity Rising initiative.
Yes, yes, we're not prioritizing one area over another. We really expanded the focus areas so that more agencies would have an opportunity to apply.
Two more new questions have come in. No, three, excuse me. The first is to clarify, the award is per year for up to 3 years.
That's correct.
The next question is there a possibility for Elevate 3.0 for additional focus areas related to Opportunity Rising?
I really couldn't speak to that right now. I really, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. We are still really busy standing up this process and dealing with the other Elevate process that we had in the spring, going into the summer. So I would hope so, but I really don't know. I think we have to look at where funding is available, what the mayor's priorities are. And it's impossible for us to know that for what the situation will be for really 2024. But I would say stay tuned. And please, watch the development department's webpage. Certainly, anytime we have a funding opportunity, we always share that information with Michael. So I just don't know.
And for the record, I didn't plant that question, Dayna.
I know you would just ask me if you had
right.
that question. You would just ask me.
Okay, the next questions, excuse me, are, can we touch on 2 to 3 focus areas in one application?
No.
Okay.
We really want you to just pick one.
Okay, thank you. That's very clear. And second, more specifically, would the funding cover stipends for youth to attend programs as they have to pick between making for their families or focus on their own development?
Well, I think it would depend how you saw paying stipends. I think it can get into a slippery type of slope in terms of, I just know this came up before, and we really have to see your application and how you intended to provide those stipends. If we found that we couldn't move forward in that way, we would say, Zirka, let us pay for most of your salary or some of your salary, and then take that money and use it for stipends. So we would have that conversation down the road. I mean, the first question is going to be, are you doing good work in the focus area that you've chosen? Do the volunteer reviewers like and really support your application? And then on the back end, we'll decide how, what's going to pass muster in terms of where you plug that funding in.
Thank you, Dayna. Zirka, do you want to follow up? I think you do. Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Really appreciate it. So our situation is that ODE has given us a big grant, and we are able to provide a lot of summer and after school programming. For example, a major challenge is the kids are coming from families that are extremely poor, and their families want to. So we saw that when ADAMH gave us some money that we could use for a stipend, parents were satisfied, and we were able to really give really excellent programming to them. And that's where I felt like we need to start looking into workforce development, not just trash picking, but also in these areas, and we can give them some money. So that's the incentive for parents.
I absolutely understand the need, because, these children are, if they're choosing to enroll in enrichment programming, or then they're not able to earn money for their school supplies or to contribute to the family, as many of them already do. So we absolutely understand that. And we, you know, as I said, when it, you know, if it came to that time, then we'd look at, okay, how do you plan to pay these stipends? And I think we had some difficulties with that before because we were using American Rescue Plan Act funding. This is general fund monies, so we may have more flexibility with this than we did with Elevate 1.0. So we really would take a closer look at those budgets as we move through the process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A new question, Dayna, is the health and well-being focus area only for chronic disease prevention? The Opportunity Rising document shows behavioral health and trauma. If we fit into that, is that okay for Elevate 2.0?
If you have to look at the stated focus areas, we have chosen some of the aspirational rays. We have chosen a total of 9, I believe we have a total of 9. So you have to fit within one of those. Don't look at the other rays that may be available. We're focusing on the ones that we have called out in the application. There may be an adjacent one that sounds like a better fit for your organization, but you have to go with the rays that we have laid out in the application.
Dayna, those are all the questions that have been shared thus far. I don't know if you had any closing thoughts that you wanted to share before I wrap us up.
I want to encourage everyone, if you have questions, please reach out to the email address, the human service email address that we provided. Feel free to go back and look at this webinar recording. We really, what I want you all to take away is that we wanted to provide an application that would not require a development staff to complete. And we hope that we have leveled the playing field in that regard so that this application is accessible equally to all of our nonprofit partners across the city. If you have questions regarding the application, please reach out using that email address. And I encourage you all to get registered with sam.gov, get registered with city vendor services, because those things can take time and we cannot enter into a grant agreement with an organization if those two pieces are not complete. And likewise, it sounds like with how EC Impact works, you have to have that nonprofit EIN in order to start that process. So I would encourage you to do what you can to move those other processes along. And I'm so grateful to all of you for taking time out of your busy day to hear about this funding opportunity. I encourage you to share this with someone else who may not know about it, because I think that bringing all of the best players to the table is only going to make for an amazing cohort. So if you know of an organization that may fit into another aspirational ray, please share this opportunity with them. This is something really special that we're building. We know that it's difficult to find funding to sort of support your keeping the lights on and people paid and all the things that you have to have in order to do anything, right? We understand that. And so we're so excited to be able to enter into this 3-year journey with you all. So I encourage you to get started on your applications as soon as possible. And I just want to wish all of you good luck.
Thank you so much, Dayna. Thanks for all of the hard work you've put into this and for such a clear presentation. For everyone, we will be sharing the recording as well as the slides, as well as the other information that Dayna listed by both email to you directly if you registered for this, as well as putting it on the Human Service Chamber's website And I know it'll be on the city's Department of Development website as well. So we will work hard to make sure you can see all of this and share it widely with whomever. Good luck. Thank you all for the work that you do. Thank you, Dayna, for the work that you and your colleagues do. And I hope everyone has as good a rest of the day as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.